The broke champion's Arnold Schwarzenegger stood in his cramped Santa Monica apartment, holding a $1,000 check, his prize money for winning the Mr. Olympia, bodybuilding's most prestigious title. He was the youngest champion in the sport's history, the best bodybuilder on the planet, and he was basically broke. The check barely covered 2 months' rent. Mr. Olympia brought prestige, not wealth. Most bodybuilders supplemented competition income with gym jobs, personal training, manual labor. They dedicate their entire lives to building perfect physiques, win championships, then struggle to pay basic bills. Arnold looked at his fellow competitors, men with incredible discipline, work ethic, and dedication, living paycheck to paycheck despite being world-class athletes. They'd achieved the sport's highest honors and remained financially trapped. He made a decision that would separate him permanently from other bodybuilders. He would get rich first, then pursue Hollywood on his own terms. Financial independence would give him the freedom to take creative risks, reject bad offers, wait for the right opportunities. But how? He had bodybuilding expertise and ambition. He didn't have capital, business education, or obvious path to wealth. What he did have was strategic intelligence and willingness to learn skills bodybuilders traditionally ignored. Arnold Schwarzenegger was about to prove that building financial empire required the same principles as building championship physique: strategic planning, disciplined execution, and refusal to accept limitations. The bricklaying business. Arnold's first business venture was brilliantly pragmatic: a bricklaying company with fellow bodybuilder Franco Columbu. They called it European Brick Works, trading on their foreign origin, as selling point European craftsmanship implied quality. The work was brutally physical, which perfectly complemented their training. They'd wake at 5 a.m., lay bricks for construction projects until afternoon, then train for hours at Gold's Gym. The labor built functional strength and generated income simultaneously. But Arnold approached bricklaying with business mindset, not just labor mentality. He studied pricing structures, identified which jobs had highest profit margins, learned to estimate materials precisely to minimize waste. He negotiated with suppliers for bulk discounts, underbid established contractors just enough to win jobs, then delivered quality that generated referrals. Most importantly, he saved aggressively. While other bodybuilders spent prize money and job earnings on cars, clothes, and entertainment, Arnold banked everything beyond basic survival expenses. He tracked every dollar with accountant-level precision. His apartment remained shabby. His car was functional but modest. His clothes were minimal. Friends thought he was cheap. Arnold saw himself as strategic, accumulating capital for larger opportunities. That would require significant investment. Within 2 years, he'd saved $27,000, not massive wealth, but enough seed capital for his real plan: real estate. The education Arnold knew nothing about real estate investment. So he did what he'd done with bodybuilding: studied obsessively until he became expert. He attended real estate investment seminars, many targeting get-rich-quick dreamers. But Arnold filtered useful information from hype. He learned about leveraging capital through mortgages, identifying undervalued properties, calculating return on investment, understanding market cycles. He studied Los Angeles neighborhoods, driving through areas, noting development patterns. Which neighborhoods were improving? Where were young professionals moving? What areas had good bones but temporary decline that would reverse? He befriended real estate agents, asking endless questions about how deals worked, what separated successful investors from failures, which properties had potential others missed. He bought agents lunch, picked their brains, absorbed everything they knew. He read books on property management, renovation cost estimation, tax advantages of real estate ownership. He learned that real estate wasn't just about buying and holding, it was about strategic improvement, forced appreciation, and timing market cycles. Most bodybuilders saw this as distraction from training. Arnold saw it as essential foundation for long-term success. His body would eventually age and decline. But property, managed correctly, would compound value indefinitely. The first purchase, Arnold found his first investment property, a small apartment building in Santa Monica with 6 units. The building was ugly, poorly maintained, a neighborhood most investors considered too risky. The owner was motivated to sell quickly due to financial problems. Arnold negotiated hard, eventually purchasing the building for $214,000 with a small down payment, leveraging every dollar he'd saved from bricklaying. The mortgage payments were high relative to his income, but the 6 units generated rental cash flow that covered most of the cost. But Arnold didn't just collect rent passively. He immediately implemented improvements: fresh paint, minor renovations, landscaping, better management. These weren't expensive changes, but they increased the property's appeal significantly. He raised rents modestly as units turned over, positioning the building as a slightly nicer option than comparable properties. Tenants who wanted clean, well-maintained apartments would pay premium. Arnold provided that at cost lower than major renovations would require. Within a year, the building's value had increased 30%, partly from market appreciation, partly from forced appreciation through Arnold's improvements. His equity had grown substantially with minimal additional capital investment. More importantly, he'd learned the mechanics of real estate investing through direct experience. Theory was useful, but nothing replaced actually negotiating deals, managing tenants, solving maintenance problems, navigating mortgage payments. The scaling strategy Arnold didn't celebrate the first property's success. He used it as foundation for exponential growth. He refinanced the building, pulling out equity that had appreciated, then used that capital as down payment for second property. The second building was larger, 12 units. Same strategy: buy undervalued property, improve strategically, increase rents, force appreciation. Then refinance, extract equity, buy another building. By 1975, Arnold owned multiple apartment buildings across Los Angeles. His real estate portfolio was generating significant monthly cash flow, far exceeding what bodybuilding competitions could ever provide. But the brilliance was in the leverage. Arnold wasn't just saving money and buying properties outright. He was using banks' money to control assets worth millions, building equity as properties appreciated while tenants paid mortgages through rent. This was wealth multiplication. Borrow $50,000, buy $250,000 property, collect rent that pays mortgage, watch property appreciate to $350,000, refinance and extract $100,000 equity, use that to buy 2 more properties, repeat indefinitely. Most bodybuilders didn't understand this mechanism. They saw Arnold spending time on boring business stuff instead of training. They didn't realize he was building a machine that would generate passive income for life. By the time Arnold was 30 years old, before his first major movie role, he was millionaire from real estate alone. Not bodybuilding, not acting. Strategic property investment. The mail order empire while scaling real estate portfolio. Arnold launched second business, mail order bodybuilding courses and equipment. He'd recognized that aspiring bodybuilders worldwide would pay for training information from Mr. Olympia champion. Arnold had expertise, name recognition, and mailing lists from bodybuilding magazines. Why not monetize that? He created Arnold's bodybuilding course, comprehensive training program with nutrition guides, workout plans, motivational content. He advertised in muscle magazines, pricing the course at $39.95, expensive for 1970s mail order product, but justified by Arnold's credentials. The orders poured in. Thousands of young men sent checks, eager to learn Arnold's secrets. The profit margins were extraordinary. Printing and mailing costs were minimal compared to revenue. Arnold was selling information and inspiration, products with near zero marginal cost. He expanded the business, adding equipment sales, protein supplements, training videos. Each product traded on his name recognition and championship status. He was building brand before personal branding existed as concept. The mail order business generated another substantial income stream, requiring minimal time investment once systems were established. Arnold had created second passive income source to complement real estate. The investment philosophy, Arnold's approach to wealth building, was systematic and disciplined, applying bodybuilding principles to finance. Progressive overload. Just as muscles grow through gradually increasing resistance, wealth grows through reinvesting profits into larger opportunities. Each success funds bigger next move. Compound growth. Small consistent gains compound into massive results over time. 20% annual return doesn't sound dramatic, but compounds to extraordinary wealth over decades. Strategic recovery. Muscles need rest to grow. Investments need patience to appreciate. Arnold didn't panic sell during market downturns. He held through cycles, understanding temporary decline preceded long-term growth. Diversification. Don't rely on single income stream. Real estate, mail order business, bodybuilding income, future acting income, multiple revenue sources, protected against any single failure. Delayed gratification. Live below means, invest difference, accept short-term sacrifice for long-term wealth. Arnold's willingness to live modestly while building fortunes separated him from peers who spent everything they earned. This wasn't luck or genius, it was systematic application of principles anyone could learn. The difference was discipline to actually execute consistently over years. The Hollywood leverage. When Arnold finally pursued acting seriously in late 1970s, he negotiated from a position of financial strength rather than desperation. This changed everything. Broke actors accepted whatever role studios offered, grateful for any paycheck. Arnold could turn down bad scripts, reject low offers, wait for roles that served his long-term positioning. Financial independence meant creative freedom. When Conan the Barbarian came along, Arnold could evaluate it strategically rather than financially. The pay was modest by Hollywood standards, $250,000, but the role perfectly positioned him for action stardom. He accepted because it served his goals, not because he needed money. This continued throughout his career. Arnold turned down roles that would have paid millions but damaged his brand. He negotiated for profit participation on films he believed in, making far more than salary alone. He developed projects where he maintained creative control. Other actors were employees, dependent on studios for income. Arnold was an entrepreneur who occasionally acted. The fundamental power dynamic was completely different. His real estate wealth also meant he could invest in his own projects, partner with studios rather than just working for them, and maintain negotiating leverage even during career downturns. The business expansion, as acting income increased dramatically through 1980s and 1990s, Arnold diversified further. He invested in commercial real estate, shopping centers, office buildings. He took positions in startup companies, particularly in fitness and entertainment sectors. He launched Planet Hollywood with Bruce Willis and Sylvester Stallone restaurant chain, capitalizing on their celebrity status. The venture eventually failed, but demonstrated Arnold's willingness to experiment with business models beyond traditional investments. He invested in fitness companies, nutritional supplement manufacturers, entertainment production ventures. Some succeeded, some failed, but the diversified portfolio meant no single failure threatened overall wealth. By 1990s, Arnold's net worth exceeded $100 million, most of it from business and investments, not acting salaries. The movies made him famous and generated income, but the wealth came from strategic capital deployment. The lessons ignored the tragedy of Arnold's financial success. Almost no other bodybuilders replicated his approach despite having access to the same information and opportunities. They watched Arnold get rich through real estate. They could have done exactly the same thing, bought rental properties, leveraged appreciation, built passive income. But they didn't. They stayed focused exclusively on bodybuilding, treating it as career rather than platform for wealth building. They saw Arnold's mail order business succeed. They had the same expertise, same access to Muscle magazine advertising, same potential customer base. But they didn't create competing businesses. They waited for sponsors and supplement companies to pay them rather than building their own products. Why? Because it required skills outside their comfort zone. Real estate meant learning business, finance, negotiation. Mail order meant marketing, customer service, logistics. These felt like distractions from training. Arnold understood what they missed. Bodybuilding was vehicle, not destination. The goal wasn't being best bodybuilder, it was using bodybuilding success as foundation for larger wealth and influence. The wealth mindset, Arnold's financial philosophy, reveals something crucial about his psychology. He never confused activity with progress, or fame with wealth. Most people pursue money through linear thinking. Work more hours, earn more money. Arnold thought exponentially. Invest wisely, leverage compounding, build systems that generate income without direct labor. Most people see their career as their income source. Arnold saw his career as platform for building multiple income streams that would eventually exceed career income. Most people spend money to signal success: luxury cars, expensive homes, designer clothes. Arnold spent strategically, invested aggressively, and let real wealth accumulate invisibly. This wasn't natural talent, it was learned discipline. Arnold came from working-class Austrian background with no business education or family wealth. He built fortune through deliberate skill acquisition and systematic execution. The modern context, Arnold's wealth-building approach anticipated modern influencer and creator economy by decades. He understood that fame could be monetized through multiple channels simultaneously, exactly what social media personalities do today. He built personal brand before personal branding existed. He created passive income through information products before digital downloads. He leveraged celebrity for business opportunities before celebrity endorsements became standard practice. Today's successful influencers follow Arnold's template: build audience in one domain, monetize through multiple revenue streams, invest earnings in assets that appreciate. The mechanics are identical, just adapted to modern platforms. The final assessment: by the time Arnold entered politics in 2003, his net worth exceeded $200 million. He could afford to serve as governor, essentially for free. His investments generated more income than government salary. This wealth wasn't accident or luck. It was systematic execution of strategy he developed as young bodybuilder, looking at $1,000 prize check and deciding that wasn't enough. Arnold got rich before Hollywood by refusing to accept bodybuilding's traditional financial limitations. He applied the same discipline to wealth building that he'd applied to physique building. He learned skills outside his expertise. He invested aggressively in appreciating assets. He built multiple income streams. He lived below his means while wealth accumulated. Most importantly, he understood that true success meant financial independence, not just achievement or fame. Trophies gather dust, movie credits become dated. But wealth, properly managed, compounds indefinitely. The other bodybuilders won competitions and remained financially vulnerable. Arnold won competitions and became wealthy enough that he never had to work again, but chose to anyway, from position of complete freedom rather than necessity. That's the difference between champion and empire builder. Champions win. Empire builders win, and then build foundations that last beyond their competitive years. Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't just get rich before Hollywood. He understood money in ways that separated him permanently from peers who had comparable talent, but couldn't think beyond their sport. The $1 million muscle wasn't just his physique, it was his brain, applied to wealth creation with the same intensity others applied only to training. And that made all the difference.